folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at Cryptic Nature. In this game, you are hunting down different cryptids throughout Europe, finding their version of Bigfoot and the Mothman, and a whole bunch of other ones I hadn't heard of. In fact, I knew Nessie, the Mothman, and then there was some skunk ape type thing relative of Bigfoot. And that was it. But there's a lot of cool cryptids in here, and your job is to find the evidence of them, capture them, then relocate them to a pleasant park where they'll live happily ever after. And not fight and kill each other? I guess not. I guess there's just happiness surrounding this park. So let's take a look at how the game works, and we'll be right back. Over the course of the game, players are going to be collecting evidence of different types. Like this, you found a victim. These are just rumors, although two of them can be a wild. Here you found a footprint, etc. And these tokens are pulled from a bag and are used to kind of randomize where things go. So if I pull this, this says the next piece of evidence goes to E4. So if I pull that piece of evidence here, a rumor, that says the next piece of evidence goes to N2. So which says the next piece of evidence goes to S2. And so on and so forth. You'll start the game with some piece of evidence on the board, but you'll also have some evidence up here in a market where you'll be able to buy these. They have money costs on them. All of this matters because over the course of the game, you're going to be capturing different cryptids. Cryptids come in different levels. This is a level. These are level 1s you see. Well, there's level 3s, all kinds of cryptids. This shows the different evidence that you will need to capture these cryptids. It will show how many victory points you get for capturing them, and then if you get them in the enclosure, victory points, and then special abilities. They also have a type. This shows where you will find them. So this one you have to find in S4. If there's a question mark, you'll draw a token. Oh, this one's in W2. And then also shows a piece, a polyomino piece that represent them, and you can see as they become bigger, as you get into the level 3s, those polyomino pieces get bigger. Each player has their own board where they will be collecting the different evidence that they'll be using. And the way the game works is you will, on your turn, in turn order, you're going to be taking actions and you'll be using your board to do so. So this gives me a move action. I can move 2 spaces on the board. So I'll have a character on the board and we're just going to move following the brown lines. And then you get to take an action. There are many different actions that you can take, and this lets you take all of them. But over the course of the game, you're going to be able to upgrade your actions. If I upgrade both of these, and upgrading costs experience points that you will gain for various things, this lets me move farther. Likewise, you can use these to get very specific actions that you can have. Everyone starts with 1. You'll start with this one here, which lets you fly anywhere on the board. But when you take looking for evidence actions, you can take another one of these actions that you will be able to use. At the end of every round, your actions will reset, but these other actions will not reset unless you pay money. There's a way to pay money to reset these actions to use them again. So you have a way to upgrade actions, like this one here, letting you look for those evidence tokens in a spot that's adjacent to you, or get more actions that you can possibly take on your turn. So the game takes place in 2 phases. You have the cryptozoologist phase, in which you're going to be moving your scientists around the map, and then there's an assistant phase, where you will be moving your assistant up and down on this track over here. Now, the way this works is, as I said, you get to use those action cubes, and you have a movement, which you can do before or after an action, and you then have an action that you can take. One of your actions that you can take is, well, to move again if you want to. You can also collect evidence. If you're in a spot with evidence, you can take that evidence that's there. You can also track a cryptid, and that is where you will spend evidence trying to catch a cryptid. Now, when you capture a cryptid, you need to be in the spot where they are and have the evidence tokens. But let's say you don't have 1 or more of the evidence tokens. Then you can roll a die for each one that you're missing. And if you roll red, well, too bad, you've missed out. You get some experience, but you have to lose one of the evidence tokens you used. If you roll a green, well, then you have found that missing piece of evidence. And if you roll this yellow, you will have found them if you have a certain skill. So there's a chance. There's also a way to re-roll the dice. Once you capture them, you're going to take their piece and their card, which might give you some bonuses. It's definitely going to give you points, and you have a chance to then relocate them in the future. Now, in each round of the game, players are going to be taking turns placing tiles down of these 3 different terrain types. And you can place them in it pretty much any way you want, as long as they are adjacent. Each one will start at a different spot. But you're doing that because when you capture a cryptid, you'll have this token, and one of the actions you do is go to a city and relocate it. Relocating it's going to put it in here where you will mark it with one of your markers for the end of game purposes. And all the icons that you cover up are things you'll get, like experience, or move your assistant, or get some money, things like that. And if you can't place one there, then you can't relocate it. You can also get points if you get 2 of the same types. These are kind of some endgame bonuses. There are some other actions you can do, like refilling spots on the board with evidence, which gives you experience. But after everyone has taken their actions, then you're going to take your assistant action. Over here, you're going to move your assistant either up or down. Moving your assistant, you'll jump over other assistants when you move, and you can pay money to move farther. The higher up you are, the more quickly you'll go in turn order, and vice versa at the bottom. Now, why would you want to move down? At the beginning of a round, you're going to roll some dice, and if you move down, you get to pick one of these dice and take the benefits on it, whether it's money or experience points or a rumor evidence or resetting some of your switches. Moving up, on the other hand, lets you expend experience points to open up new actions on your card and to spend coins to reset switches. Regardless of which one you pick, you can always go to the market and sell and or buy more evidence tokens. When the sanctuary board is completely full of tiles, the game will end. Players are going to get points for the different cryptids that they have captured, and they'll get points for some of them have end game bonus scoring on them, and you'll also get points for some of these tiles that you've collected and having the most cryptids in the sanctuary, and some leftover stuff, and whoever has the most points is the winner. The theme and production of this is really well done. This is one of the first games I've seen from my adventure, and it's just cool. The art, the different cryptids, the production of the board, the little the layered boards as I'm moving the cubes around, the money, the tokens. It's just across the board, it is an incredible production, and I have very little complaints about it. I might complain that the magnet pieces, those little tokens, those little 1x2 pieces that you put on the sanctuary are magnetic. But it doesn't matter. You're not flipping it upside down. And then the other tokens are not magnetic. So it just feels like magnets were thrown in for no reason. Other than that, though, it all comes together pretty well. Player aids, the rule book's well done, etc. The theme comes through. You're going out, you're finding evidence. You then run and then find these cryptids, put them in the park. I am amused again by the fact that you're throwing all these dangerous creatures in one park, but whatever. It's a fun, interesting theme. There's some cool concepts here. We have the 2 distinct phases. You have your zoologist going out there and going around doing their various things, then your assistant phase. And the decision when to go up or down, all that is interesting. The way your board works, the way you can upgrade actions, that's really cool. And yet the game doesn't work. There's a lot of problems with Cryptic Nature. The first is that the game is simply too slow in plotting for what it is. There's also very few victory points given out at the end. So you feel like you've done a lot, and you'll capture 4 or 5 cryptids, and it doesn't feel like they were an epic thing to capture them necessarily, but it feels like it takes a long time. And that slow and plotting nature is compounded by you doing a lot of things that just aren't particularly interesting. For example, you're supposed to start the game with 3 of those 1x2 tiles at the bottom of the board of those 3 different terrains. It's like pick any ones you want. They all have symbols on them. Those symbols are when you put another tile on top of them. That doesn't matter because the first one you put out there, anybody could put something on top of that. And so every turn you have to remember to place one of those out there, to choose a new one, and then that's just a whole lot of not random, but a lot of little choices to make over something that doesn't matter. Now, it matters how you build that terrain out a bit because you're trying to put the tiles you have on it, which then leads you into if I don't have a green cryptid that goes on the green tiles, then if I have a green tile, I'm going to mess that up as much as possible so you can't put your shape on it, which just doesn't fit with the theme of the game at all. It's like, I'm going to make this sanctuary terrible so you can't drop off your monster in it. That's odd. And like I said, it's tedious. That whole assistant phase is, okay, are you going to go up and down? And they look at it and go, I think I'll go up. Unless you can't go up, then you have to go down, right? And I'll pick that die. All right, so I move up. I pick that die. I've gotten that stuff. Oh, no, going down gets you to die. Sorry, but going up, I'll spend this experience. I'll do this money. Now I want to buy one of those things at the top. I want to sell one. Do I want to wipe them first? And you do all that. And that is picking turn order. That's picking turn order. And so because of that, that part just feels like it drags out the game. And then you get to your main action. You're like, I move and pick up an evidence token. Done. That's called the main action. So that's a lot of problems with this game. There's a lot of text on all the cryptids. They all do various things, but it doesn't feel like it matters too much. And the capturing of cryptids, the dice mechanism, I have a strong negative reaction to that. When you roll dice to capture a cryptid, first of all, you don't have to. So let's say it needs 2 tokens. I go around, find those 2 tokens, get it, catch a cryptid. No, all well done. And by the way, I should mention the game has a completely unnecessary mechanism, which I didn't mention in the overview, where you have to you're claiming 2 of those cryptids, and you can only capture one that you're claiming. And if someone else captures it first, then it's a messy, and again drags the game down, because in between turns you're like, well, the cryptid I had claimed is gone, so now I can claim one of the other ones. Which one? But anyway, you want to capture these cryptids. You spend the tiles, you're done. No harm, no foul. But if you only have one of the 2 tiles, or 2 of the 3 tiles, or one of the 3 tiles, you can roll the dice. Well, it's like a 50% chance. That's kind of iffy. If you fail, it's so punishing. You lose. They're like, you only lose 1 evidence token. That's a big deal. And you get an experience. Yay, that's kind of a very small consolation prize comparatively. If you succeed, wazza, that's great. And you didn't have to spend an evidence token on it. And the difference between failure and succeeding is so great on something that doesn't happen that often during the game. And a point could be made where you would say, hey, I'm just going to spend tiles. I'm not going to take the chance. But if Susan takes the chance and Susan captures one, I'm forced to, because she's ahead of me. There's a little bit of mitigation with some of the skills and things, but that mitigation lets you re-roll the die. You can't roll extra dice. You roll dice equal to the ones you're missing. You can add the yellow side, so then you're hitting on a slightly better than 50% chance, but it's still lucky. And I've seen people who fail a couple of those rolls, and that ruins the entire game for them. A lot of interesting ideas here. Capturing the cryptids, putting the cryptids in the forest. I have high respect for both the publisher and the designers, and I will gladly take a look at what they do next. But unfortunately, this one is a pass for me. This one, I started out as a 6, but it's down to a 5 now, because I actively kind of grown that it's a fun theme. It's interesting, and we do all this cool stuff. But at the end of the day, the game isn't fun. The theme is fun. What we're doing should be fun. But I'm very dissatisfied at the end of a game, and for that reason, it falls a bit. So that's Cryptic Nature, the board game. I'm Tom Vasel. We'll see you next time. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you like this review or whatever you just watched, wasn't it amazing? Check out our channel, Dice Tower. We have all kinds of things. We review games, we do top 10s, we play games live. It's all about board games, but especially the people who play them. Check out Dice Tower YouTube channel.